Oh, I tell you, the musical chair seats in Formula One is about to begin. What has happened to Daniel Ricciardo? We'll have a quick glance back at Monaco. A new record has been set. What of the wings, rear and front? And I have a classic question. And where's Valtteri? Welcome to the F1 PitBox.
This is the F1 PitBox with Sasha Martinengo and Gary Formato.
It is a very good evening. Welcome to the F1 PitBox. Before we get into the world of Formula One, another tragic weekend last weekend at Mugello with, unfortunately, the death of Moto3 rider Jason Dupasquier from Switzerland. A horrific accident, unfortunately, succumbed to his injuries. And my thoughts are with his family, of course, all of his friends, and everybody involved in the world of motorsport and, of course, in motorbike riding as well. Our thoughts are with him. He will never be forgotten. And speaking of MotoGP, this weekend, of course, MotoGP taking place in Barcelona. Alex Rins, today, riding his bicycle, fell and broke his arm. Yep, the Suzuki rider won't be there. I'm not sure who's going to replace him, but watch out for that. Alex Rins not going to be on the grid this coming weekend. Now, we've got a lot to get through during the course of this evening. Make sure that you're online and share the pages and do whatever you have to do. I'm now just getting onto the race day page. There we go. That's looking good. And I'm on the F1 Sasha page, and post your comments. Go for it, whatever you want to say and do. And we'll have a chat during the course of this evening as well. This weekend, we race in Baku in Azerbaijan. Of course, we weren't there last year, but we've had 4 races so far. 3 out of the 4 have all been won by Mercedes. One of them was won by Ferrari when Ferrari had a very strong engine. This weekend, not so much. Also, did you know that the Baku itself as a city is below sea level, 28 meters below sea level? Now, does that give them extra power? I don't know. Anyway, let's go back first. 2 weeks ago to the Monaco Grand Prix. It was fabulous to see crowds again at Monaco and at Formula One racing. And things are opening up. Silverstone looks like it's going to have full crowds, and Zandvoort in Holland, and I mean, wow, you've got Max Verstappen. Looks like they are, well, expecting or limiting to 105,000 people. So let's hope this virus just calms itself down and everybody plays ball and we can get crowds back to live sport, because that's really, really what we want to see. Now, many people criticized the Monaco Grand Prix last weekend as being processional, being boring. Why is it still on the calendar? It is Monaco. Let's remember that. It's been on the calendar for just about every single Grand Prix. I think it was there in 51, and then from 55 onwards, it's been with us all the time. We cannot expect that every Monaco Grand Prix is going to have safety cars or crashes. And if that is the only reason why you are interested in watching Grand Prix, then maybe you've got to reassess what you're actually watching it for. Monaco is prestigious, and it is glamorous, and it is an incredible testament to the drivers to maintain their concentration and their skill to go around those narrow streets for 78 laps whenever they race at Monaco. However, having said that, this could be the problem. Okay, so what we need to do is look at the car sizes of how they have changed over the years. There we go. Look at the difference in the sizes. Even in the last 8 years, from the F60 in 2009 to what these cars look like. They are much longer, they are much bigger. And I mean, if you go back to 1978, they might have been a little bit wider, which was a bit of a problem, but they weren't as long. This could be a little bit of an issue when it comes to racing around street circuits, and specifically Monaco, because it is so narrow. There are other street circuits that we've got, and we're going to one this weekend in Baku. But maybe Formula One cars are just a little bit too big at the moment. Ross Brawn has come out, and he's the boss of Formula One. And he's come, well, besides Stefano Domenicali, but he's come out and says they are looking at trying to make some adaptations when it comes to Monaco. I'm not entirely sure what they can and, cannot do. But Monaco is one of those Grand Prix. It can throw us something unbelievable. And then, of course, unfortunately, it can be processional. But the one thing about Monaco is you just never know. It could come to the last couple of corners and somebody can make a mistake. From Monaco, we also have a new world record. Unfortunately, there it is, 97 hours. Well, actually, it was something like 43 hours and 15 minutes. That is how long it took Mercedes to actually extract the tire and wheel off Valtteri Bottas's car. It was just, unfortunately, a comedy of errors. And if Valtteri didn't have any bad luck, I don't think he would have any luck. Speaking of Valtteri, I think he's just landed. I'm not even kidding you. I think he's just landed in Baku at the moment. He was part of the press conference earlier on today, the mandatory Thursday press conference, and he had to do the press conference from the airport via Zoom because there was something wrong with the aeroplane that he was meant to catch, and unfortunately got stuck in Baku. I mean, can this guy get a break? Can he get a break? More than likely going to lose his seat as well. Now, for some numbers, this is rather interesting if you like the numbers kind of game. Carlos Sainz has been on the podium in Formula One. Red Bull owned the team, own team has won the race when he was last on the podium. Lewis Hamilton has finished 7th, and Charles Leclerc has failed to finish the race. We hope this is not an omen for the future of the two Ferrari drivers of Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, because it means only one of them is going to be scoring points. Now, there's a lot of debate regarding Charles Leclerc's qualifying crash in Monaco. For those who maybe think that Charles Leclerc purposefully crashed his car after the swimming pool chicane into the barriers, and there is a picture of it. If you do believe that, then you might be one of those people and who maybe think that the earth is flat. Immediately, the commentators came out and likened it to Michael Schumacher parking his car at Raskas back in 2006. I mean, there's completely different things. Unfortunately, it destroyed Charles Leclerc's complete weekend because he unfortunately didn't even start the race because they had other problems at the back of that car as well. Desperate for him because, as we saw, if you were in the front and there were no safety car incidents, you could go along and win it just as Max Verstappen does, however. There is a debate and there is a question. IndyCar in the United States have a slightly different kind of method of qualifying. And that is if you crash on a specific lap, that your fastest lap gets taken away from you. And it's something that has been debated over the last couple of weeks since what happened in Monaco, where a lot of people said, oh, we'll take Charles Leclerc's lap away from him. It's not as simple because in Formula One, you have a restriction on the amount of tires that you have. You don't want to put too much load onto the engines because they are also quite finicky, and they also have to last quite a long time. So is there a solution to this? I do believe that if those drivers were on a fast lap, then perhaps they should be given an alternative or a chance to go out onto track again, even if the session has been completed, and perhaps go and have a one-lap shootout. It is possible. But in Formula One, you also have restricted the amount of tires. Does a team now want to go and use another set of tires just to claim that pole position? So there are many variables and many balls in the air as to how it would be possible to go and try and sort that out. Now, I'm just going to load up my phone over here so that I can see exactly what's going on, if there are any comments and those kind of things that are coming in. So if you do have anything that you would like to say, and maybe I can pick up on it, that would be terrific. I'm trying to find a solution as to what Formula One could do in qualifying. I do like the idea that they should have the opportunity to give the drivers who were on fast laps, or all of the drivers who are in that session, another chance. But then do we give them an extra set of tires? Perhaps that is a feasible solution somewhere along the line. Now, let's take nothing away from Max Verstappen and Red Bull. What a performance by the young Dutchman. He now leads the championship. And let's be honest, it was a dismal day for Mercedes. Valtteri Bottas was super fast and would have undoubtedly finished second in the race behind Max Verstappen. And Lewis Hamilton just unfortunately had one of those bad days, had a bad qualifying, and we all knew that in Monaco, unless something extraordinary happens, that's basically where you're going to sit. So well done to Max Verstappen, and it's just terrific for the championship. And this is what I really love about Formula One: the mind games, the politics on the track, the politics off the track, between the drivers, between the team bosses as well. You've got Helmut Marko, you've got Toto Wolff, you've got Christian Horner, all going at each other. And this is what happens in the world of Formula One when you have teams fighting for wins and championships. And we haven't seen that, let's be honest, for quite a number of years. There's a picture of the three of them in discussion, and I can tell you it is not as friendly as it was in that picture. Now, before I go into what is going to happen on June the 15th, I'm just going to go through a couple of questions. Colin says they could extend the track in Monaco. There we go. Good idea. It could be. Candace says the Dutch folk must be very excited. Michael van Rooyen, good evening. What is with the Red Bull jacket? Ferrari looks better on you. Okay, Michael, I'll wear Ferrari next time. But you see, the problem is if I do wear a Ferrari jacket, then everyone says, but you buy it, Sasha. So I try and keep it as impartial as problem. I maybe wear an Alfa Romeo jacket or bring an Alfa Lady and maybe stand with us, but then I'll most probably be told I'm sexist or something like that. Add refueling again, that'll throw the race wide open. It's a contentious idea, Gary, when it comes to add refueling. The costs involved with adding refueling, I'm not entirely sure. I think they are on the right track in the terms of Formula One, and 2022 maybe will give us a different kind of indication on where we're going. Now, June the 15th is a very, very important day in the world of Formula One, because this is going to be the day when the FIA are going to implement new tests on the flexibility of the rear wing of the Formula One cars. It's something very peculiar. We wait in anticipation whether or not tomorrow Mercedes-Benz protest against Red Bull Racing because of their flexi wing. Before I carry on, yes, they will protest Red Bull because they are challenged or fighting with Red Bull. There is a lot of speculation and a lot of rumor that Ferrari's rear wing also flexes, Alpine's rear wing flexes, and I know for a certainty that Alfa Romeo rear wing flexes more than what is allowed, and this is where it's very murky, more than what is allowed when you see it on camera when the car is at speed. Okay, let's remember that very, very carefully. All tests on Formula One cars, besides the crash tests, are static tests. So, for example, the strength of a front wing and its flexibility of a front wing is done in a static test. The rear wing, exactly the same. So the cars are completely legal. They are made to the specification of what the FIA says, and with the tests that the FIA conduct on the cars before season starts, if the car's rear wing or front wing does not bend outside of the parameters that are specified by the FIA, then the car is legal, completely, 100%. So we wait in anticipation as to what Mercedes are going to do. And this becomes quite, quite exciting. Because if they do protest Red Bull's flexi wing on the rear of the car, and just to explain to you what actually happens on the wing. So if this is the wing, and it's standing up like this, okay, what happens is, in terms of the regulations, that wing, of course, is going to move a little bit. As much as it is as stiff as possible, because that's what the regulation says, just by natural physics, the wing is going to flex a little bit. But when, for example, the Red Bull is going down the main straight of any circuit, all of a sudden, the back of the wing goes even further back. And this, of course, allows better air, which reduces drag. Okay. There we go. Now, there's a picture by the fabulous Giorgio Piola. The graphic is quite difficult to understand. But if you just in your mind understand that the back of the rear wing of the Honda Red Bull all of a sudden flexes further down, which allows a better stream of air and therefore giving you less drag, which should theoretically give you more straight line speed. Okay, so the difficult part here is the car is legal. The complaint that Mercedes and, for example, McLaren seem to have at the moment is they are saying that why is it taking the FIA so long to get this test in order? For example, Baku, you've got a 2.2 kilometer long straight. This surely is going to benefit those cars who have got wings that flex a little bit more. I say this, there's nothing stopping Mercedes, McLaren, Toro Rosso, any of the teams for making a wing this weekend that flexes more, because it should be within the regulations. However, that has not been tested. It is, I know it's very, very complicated. The other issue that we have here is the budget cap. Don't forget, all of the teams are under budget caps now. Frederic Vasseur from Alfa Romeo has come out and said to change the wing because all of a sudden the FIA wants to implement, and the Article 3.9.9 of the technical regulations, and I'll just read it to you, that permits it to introduce further load or deflection tests on any part of the car deems fit. Fair enough, they do have that in terms of the regulations. Frederic Vasseur is saying this could cost him up to $500,000 to redesign and resort out a rear wing. Now, if all of the teams now start bickering about little wings and little deflections, nobody is going to have any budget to do anything else. At the moment, the cars are legal. On June the 15th, they're going to have to go through stringent tests again to test the flexibility of the rear wing. And on top of that, the FIA is going to allow up to 20% leeway on that wing. So we have to wait and see. But if Mercedes protest against Red Bull with their rear flexi wing, I will not be surprised to see Red Bull protest Mercedes-Benz about their front wing. Now, and I know I say now a lot, but I'll stop saying that. These are pictures of the Mercedes front wing. You can see there is a huge difference in the flexibility of the wing, going through a corner and down a straight. So everyone is pushing the envelope. As I say, all of these tests are conducted in static conditions. So during a corner speed, that is exactly what the wing looks like for Mercedes, but when it's going on the straight, all of a sudden it is now allowing air to travel in different directions, which also reduces the drag. It's very, very complicated, but I think we should be in for some fun and games this weekend as well. A couple of other questions that have come through here, or comments. Evening, Sasha. Hello, Rian. Nice to hear. Hello, Eitan. Oh, I should wear a Williams jacket. Yes, I should wear a Williams jacket. You're right. Except for bad luck, do you think Mercedes is favoring Lewis over Bottas? Good question, Sabaki. I'll answer that in a couple of sections. Red Bull will be in trouble then. They are the masters of the flexi wing. Now, I understand where you're coming from, Ted, because if you go back even to the Sebastian Vettel days, Adrian Newey is a genius when it comes to designing cars. He can't now be held responsible for designing a car that through the tests is legal. And now all of a sudden, if I say, no, we want to do other tests, it's very complicated. Tony says it appears that Mercedes team are not having fun like the others, not smiling much. Lando and the others seem to be having a lot more fun. Yeah, well, this is what happens, Tony, when you do have serious competition. Going back to the question, do you think they're favoring Lewis? I don't think up until now they would have been favoring Lewis over Valtteri. I think they don't forget, we still got 17 races to go. That is a long, long time to go in a championship. Valtteri lost a huge amount of points in Monaco, and it's his worst start being at Mercedes. Whereas on the flip side, it's the best start that Lewis Hamilton has had, and it's the best start that Max Verstappen has had. Will Mercedes already start favoring Lewis Hamilton? You've got to believe they will, because you've got to believe that Red Bull will definitely favor Max Verstappen. They want to win a championship, and they want to win it with Honda in their last year. So Valtteri is, unfortunately, because he's just had such a bad start and a hell of a lot of bad luck, he's unfortunately in a no-win situation. He's more than likely, from this Grand Prix onwards, going to have to play second fiddle to Lewis Hamilton. That's the way that I see it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mercedes do that and start calling those kind of team orders. Having said that, there's still 17 races to go. Now, coming up, some Formula One driver musical chairs. But answer me this, and you can answer on the Facebook page or on the YouTube page, or you can, if you've got the WhatsApp number, you can answer it there as well. If you watched the Indy 500 last weekend, the last 20 laps of that race were epic. And Helio Castroneves won by, I think, 0.1 of a second. It was incredible. It's his fourth Indy 500 win. He's 46 years old, so nobody says you are past it when it comes to the world of motor racing. Brilliant drive by Helio Castroneves. So here's my trivia question to you. Who is the only person to have won the Indy 500 and the Formula One World Championship in the same year? Okay, who is the only person to have won the Indy 500 and the Formula One World Championship in the same year? All right, coming up next, some musical chairs. We know that Lando Norris has signed a multi-year contract with McLaren, so his future is very, very secure. But there are many drivers who could stay in 2022 with their significant teams. But every driver on the grid knows that they are driving for their position and, of course, their futures in the world of Formula One. So I decided let's have a look at some of the drivers who are on the grid at the moment and how secure they are. First two I'm going to start off with, and it's unfortunate to say this, but you've got to start with the money men, Nicholas Latifi, Nikita Mazepin. I'm going to take Lance Stroll out of the equation because I think Lance Stroll he deserves his place without his father there being as well. It's frustrating in a way that Formula One has come down to this. But money has always been a pivotal part of any racing driver's future and career. Without the sponsor and the backing, you don't have much of a chance of going racing. And all of them have had it through the years, from the Sennas to the Alonsos, to the Schumachers, to the Hamiltons. There's always been somebody who's been prepared to piggy bank them into racing and keep them going. Thereafterwards, those greats have gone on to prove their worth and, of course, pay back with interest to those specific kinds of sponsors. It's not a new thing. The new thing is teams being bought by multi-billionaire fathers for their sons to go racing. So we've got Nikita Mazepin, we've got Nicholas Latifi. Nicholas Latifi is a fantastic racing driver. He's shown it when he raced in Formula 2 and GP2. However, he's up against George Russell. It's the same as Valtteri Bottas being up against Lewis Hamilton. It's the same as Sergio Perez being up against Max Verstappen. That's how good and how highly I rate that man on your screen, George Russell. These two drivers do have a better chance of staying in Formula One. And I'm talking about Latifi and Mazepin because they do have the backing around them. Latifi most probably deserves his spot and most probably will stay at Williams. George Russell, I'll call it now, I believe will be in Mercedes next year with Lewis Hamilton. Where that leaves Valtteri Bottas, I'm not entirely sure because Bottas, in my opinion, still deserves to be on the grid. But where are the gaps going to be? And what will he decide and what would he choose to go from Mercedes, not having won a championship, down to where? Does he go back to Williams? So far back? I'm not entirely sure, but I think Bottas has got a little bit of an issue coming up as well. Now, the next is a driver that you've got to watch out for, and that, of course, is Callum Ilott. And Callum Ilott is the reserve driver for Ferrari, and he is also a test driver for Alfa Romeo. This all depends on what happens with Kimi Raikkonen and perhaps with Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo's contract ends with the Sauber organization at the end of this year. If they don't renew with Sauber, then all of a sudden, Antonio Giovinazzi's job is also on the line because he is paid for basically by Alfa Romeo. If Sauber now are looking for money and they don't have Alfa Romeo money, what happens to a guy like Giovinazzi? Ferrari want Giovinazzi to carry on doing what he's doing, and he's doing a superb job. Considering where he was sort of 2 years ago. He really has stepped up to the plate and he's consistently being quicker than Kimi Raikkonen. Raikkonen, they've said he can stay for as long as he wants. I love Kimi Raikkonen, but I'm sitting there going, surely it's time for a guy like Callum Ilott to go in to get into Formula One and Kimi, I don't know, go and do some other kind of racing. I would love to see Kimi race until he's 50 in Formula One, but that's just my personal opinion. I've got to think bigger, and I've got to think about the sport as well. Callum Ilott, I firmly believe, will be, I believe, will be in the Sauber organization next year, but this depends on whether or not Kimi Raikkonen decides what his future is going to be. And perhaps the next 4 or 5 races will give us an indication. If all of a sudden he starts getting into the points, and he has raced exceptionally well, he's just had a couple of just unlucky situations. But Kimi's still out there and he's still very, very quick. So what happens, Alfa Romeo money to Sauber? If they don't get that Alfa Romeo money, they're going to get money from somewhere else. That somewhere else money could bring in another driver, but I firmly believe that Ferrari will in some way pay to put Callum Ilott into the Sauber team, or alternatively the Haas team. So the Haas team with Mazepin and Schumacher is also one of those. Schumacher and Haas, depends on what this 2022 car looks like, but Haas definitely needs some big injection, and I think maybe that's where the Ferrari money will go. If Mazepin doesn't perform for the rest of the season, no matter how much money his dad brings, I have a feeling that Ferrari will push him out and put in Schumacher and Eilert in Haas. That could happen. The next driver I want to talk about is a young superstar. If you watch the Formula 2 race in Monaco, the main feature race, you would have watched a superb drive by a young 17-year-old by the name of Theo Pourchaire. All right, watch out for this kid. I don't believe we'll see him perhaps in Formula 1 next year, but we're definitely going to see this kid in Formula 1 in the very, very near future. He really is a superb talent and a blindingly fast racing driver as well. So I say, just watch out for this little kid. He's going to be there. This now leaves us with a couple of scenarios. Haas could change drivers going into 2022. Don't forget, they changed drivers for this year, but this year is a sort of nowhere year for Haas. Next year is a crucial year for all of the teams with all of these massive new regulations. There's nothing wrong with going into new regulations with two brand new drivers. The cars are going to be so completely different for all of them. So we might see Schumacher go to Alfa Romeo with Giovinazzi, Eilert go to Haas, Mazepin go out. There's a lot of permutations that could happen in the world of Formula One, but there are many seats that are not very safe at present. The person I'm most concerned for, I think, is Valtteri Bottas as to where he's going to land up. I do believe that George Russell will get into Mercedes next year. Earlier on, I mentioned Daniel Ricciardo. What has happened to the popular Aussie? Most people love him. We know he's a fantastic driver. He's won at Monaco, and this year in Monaco, he got lapped by his own teammate. And this is where it gets a little bit strange. Lando Norris is lying third in the World Championship. He's doing a terrific job, been on a couple of podiums, in a car that's probably third and fourth best. I think the McLaren and the Ferrari are pretty similar and pretty close to each other when it comes to performance. And yet his very highly respected teammate just cannot get to grips with the car. Lando Norris came out earlier today saying he is struggling to drive the McLaren the way that he wants to drive the car. Andreas Seidel, as well as Zach Brown, have said that this McLaren needs a specific kind of driving technique. Now, if Lando Norris is struggling with it and managing to get podiums, how long is it going to take before Daniel Ricciardo has the opportunity to, I don't know, get onto par with Lando Norris and even beat Lando Norris? And if you look at other drivers that have come into new teams, Fernando Alonso is being very outplayed by Esteban Ocon. And in Ferrari, you've got it very, very close between Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. So is Fernando Alonso not as good as he used to be? Is Daniel Ricciardo not as good as we've always thought him to be? And is Carlos Sainz a lot better than a lot of people have thought him to be? That's what we have to ask ourselves. This will be a different kind of Grand Prix in Baku, and maybe we'll see speed from Alonso. Maybe we'll see speed from Daniel Ricciardo. But it is, I think, a little bit problematic for a guy like Daniel Ricciardo. We know him to be a very upbeat kind of a person. He loves the attention around him, and he doesn't like it when things aren't going his way. So I think the next couple of races are going to be very, very critical for a driver like Daniel Ricciardo. Okay, after Googling, I learned it's Mario Andretti. No, that's not the correct answer. I'll give you the correct answer in a short while. Would prefer Schumacher in the Alfa Sauber. I would too, Johan. I would too, but it all depends whether or not it is actually an Alfa Sauber next year. Valtteri will end up in IndyCar. We'll have to see. Isn't Mazepin's dad buying Haas? It's not confirmed. Mazepin's father is the major sponsor of the Haas team. I don't know what that, as I say, even with all of that kind of money, Ferrari and Haas are getting closer and closer, even though this year is sort of nowhere for them. But 2022 is going to be a very, very critical year for Haas. They've got a setup which is in Italy, very close to Ferrari. So 2022, we've got to see where they're going to be. I think Mercedes will protest against the Red Bull Flexi Wing. That's from Candice. I think they could protest it, and I do hope that Red Bull protest the Mercedes wing. I mean, it'll just be fun for everyone. Stephen says, Sasha, that's why I get frustrated with F1 and prefer MotoGP. F1 has become so technical, and they're really now splitting hairs by millimeters, a bit ridiculous. Stephen, I don't think you can compare the two. But they're splitting hairs by millimeters. It is technical, and it always has been technical. It's not something new. But this is the wonder. This is why you have to have this in the world of motorsport, and specifically Formula One. You have to push the barriers as far as you can. That's progress. That's what these engineers are doing all of the time. And yes, where all of a sudden somebody notices that something's not working the way that their car's working, of course they're going to question it. And I think it's good for the sport. But to compare Formula One and MotoGP it's not practical. They're two completely different kinds of racing. They are both magnificent and brilliant in their own ways. But let's take MotoGP 2 years ago, where Marc Marquez would be 10, 12 seconds ahead of everybody else. It's wonderful if you're a Marquez fan. And for the rest, you just sit and say, oh, well, Marquez won. We've seen it for nearly 8 years with Mercedes. For the first 3 years, we just sat there and went, this is ridiculous. At least somewhere along the line, we had a little bit of competition from Red Bull, a little bit of competition from Ferrari. And this year, this is the closest we've seen Formula One in 8 years. That's where my concern, Stephen, is where the FIA created rules that weren't being allowed to be adjusted over a period of time. So, yeah, that's a bit problematic for me. Very good evening to you, Gavin. The answer is no, he's not Jack Brabham either. I will give you the answer in a short while. Coming up, we'll look forward to Baku.
This is Formula One.
Hi, Jean. I remember when it came onto the calendar in 2016, and I basically went on Google. I was like, well, where is Azerbaijan? The place looks magnificent. It really, really does. And it's a street circuit like no other. The main straight is 2.2 kilometers long. I mean, you can have double overtakes, you can have triple overtakes, as we've seen in the past. We saw Valtteri Bottas just pip Lance Stroll to second place. So, I mean, the slipstream that you can get down that long straight is something unbelievable. But the track can also punish you, as we know with Nico Hülkenberg and Charles Leclerc. One little mistake on a street circuit, and bang, you are into the wall. There's a graphic of the track, as you can see, that massive long straight. So you're overtaking opportunities. Definitely into turn one. You can have an opportunity into turn two as well, if you get the right drive out of turn one, and definitely another chance going into turn number 3 as well. There afterwards, the track gets very, very technical. You have to have your wits about you. And then, of course, when you come out of turn 19 and, from 18, basically, you are flat out. And the guys should hit around about 330, 340 Ks an hour, depending on their wing configuration, and also depending on their flexing wings. Now, here's quite a funny picture because the bottom one is definitely real. The top one just looks as though everyone's going into a bottleneck. So I'm not entirely sure if that's Photoshop, but that is basically the setup of how Formula One looks at the bottom, where that's where they create the pits and, of course, all of the hospitality areas as well. But the top picture, I think, is maybe a little bit photoshopped somewhere along the line. But it does look like chaos over there as well. So it's definitely going to be a very, very fun Grand Prix. Now, okay, there's that word again. This weekend, temperature-wise, we are looking at very, very hot temperatures, which we haven't seen so far this year. Temperatures are going to be into the high 20s in terms of ambient temperature, and most of the track, which gets a lot of sun, should most probably be in the 45s to 50 degree temperature range. So this is going to be new for all of us and for Pirelli. We weren't there last year. So the track is going to be incredibly dusty initially. So it's going to be quite difficult for the drivers out there when they get into first free practice. Thereafterwards, tire wear, especially on the long straight and the hard braking areas, I don't know if it's going to play a major factor, but it'll be interesting to see whether or not the softest of the Pirelli compound is going to be favorable when it comes to qualifying. It might well be that they go for a medium and a hard strategy. However, that soft tire over one lap might give them a significant time difference, and that soft tire might well come into play for all of the drivers. So that's going to be, I think, rather interesting for us to watch, because we haven't seen temperatures this hot so far in the Formula One season. And of course, the races here afterwards, the temperatures should definitely get hotter as we get into the summer months of the Northern Hemisphere. So after this, we've got Azerbaijan, we've got France, then we've got the 2 races in Austria. Then we go to Silverstone, where we'll have the W Series racing as well, which should be spectacular. Yeah, so we've got a lot of very, very warm races that are coming up as well. Colin says, not sure if they're racing, but if F1 and F2 are racing, it's worth watching at this track full of action. I'll be honest, I don't think F2 are here this weekend as support races. But for those who do have the opportunity over the weekend, when there is Formula 2 racing and Formula 3 doesn't get that much TV time, but Formula 2 racing is really something we should watch, because that is, in a way, very much a feeder series into Formula 1. Very good evening, Peter. Rika says, I don't favor this track. It feels like you wait for a long time for the cars to lap each other. Rika, very good point. It's 6 kilometers long, Baku. And if you think about it, Spa is 7 kilometers long. Monza is just on 6 kilometers long, but this is a street circuit. So, yeah, we all know what can happen in street circuits. They can be very processional, but the long straight is definitely a chance for big overtaking moves, and we should see some very, very close racing amongst the top teams. Top teams, who are they going to be? Mercedes will bounce back this weekend, mark my words. They had a very average Monaco Grand Prix. They won't be happy with that. And take all of the shenanigans that are happening off the track about flexi wings. They know that they have to go out there and produce. They've won 3 out of the last 4 races, or 3 out of the 4 races in Baku. There's no reason why they should not be the team to beat. We know Red Bull have upped their game and they will be strong. I don't know if they've got the power to go out and race against Mercedes or be as quick as them when it comes to qualifying. However, the race is a different story. Going further down the pack, I think McLaren might just have an edge on Ferrari. Ferrari improved dramatically. Ferrari, I think, will be good through the slower part of the track, but I don't think that they've got the horsepower that the McLaren has with the Mercedes. But I think that should be a really, really good battle between the two of them. For the rest of the teams, Alpine didn't blow us away in Monaco. Of course, it is a different kind of a circuit. There was a vast improvement from the Aston Martin team in Monaco, but this is a circuit they have to go out there and show what they have. There's no excuse. They've got Mercedes power there as well. This will also give us an indication of how quick the Alpine with the Renault power has as well. And then there afterwards, don't discount Alpha Tauri with the Honda power. So I think, and Pierre Gasly, I mean, the guy is just unbelievable. So watch out for Gasly. And then you're going to have the pretenders. You're going to have Alfa Romeo. You're going to have Williams fighting against each other. And unfortunately, the way that I see it, Haas will bring up the rear as well. So we're going to have battles all over the place for first and second, for third and fourth, and then, of course, your mid-pack as well. I think it should be a fascinating Grand Prix. Let's get back to our trivia. Let's see if any people have got some of the answers correct over here. Mohammed Mayet, well done. Gary Davies, right on the money. Correct. These are some of the answers that have come through. My question was, who is the only person to have won the Indy 500 as well as the Formula One Championship in the same year? No, it wasn't Jack Brabham. It wasn't John Surtees. The answer that you're looking for is Jim Clark. Jim Clark also was the first non-American driver to win the Indy 500. I can't even remember the year. I should know the year. I think it was 1962, 1963. He's the only driver in history to win the Indy 500 and the Formula One Championship in the same year. He drove for Lotus. There you can see the picture of Jim Clark. And Colin Chapman to his right-hand side with the sunglasses on, of course, the founder and owner of Lotus. And the average speed of 150.69 miles an hour. And if you think the IndyCar guys in qualifying to 233 miles an hour just this past weekend. Unbelievable. There we go. Are there any other questions? Oh, Mohammed says 1965. Thank you for correcting. I thought it was 62, but 65 was the year that Jim Clark did it. Tomorrow morning, if you are watching this show from South Africa, please invite me to your house because I've got load shedding tomorrow for first free practice, which I'm not incredibly excited about. So I'm looking for somewhere to go and watch free practice. I think it is from 10:30 to 11:30 tomorrow morning, or from 11 to 12. And then, of course, the race this coming Sunday at 3 p.m. If you are in the Johannesburg, Gauteng area, I will be at the Baron at Witkoppen. That is in Four Ways, together with my good friends from Tom's, the only music store, Arnold Chats Cars, and, of course, the Baron. You could also win yourself a pair of stunning Formula One eyewear from ifashion.co.za at the watch party. That's what we call them now, the F1 PitBox watch party, which will be at the Baron this coming Sunday. If you want to come along, go and book yourself a table. Get there as early as possible. I usually start my chat around about 2 o'clock, and then we cross over to the live pictures at around about 2:45 when they do the national anthems. Now, if you want to join the WhatsApp group, I must just get the number. There we go. Thanks very much for reminding me, Fritz. I just never ever remember what the number is. Oh gosh, I really should. I should know this. I should know my own telephone number. Hold on a second. No, that's my personal telephone number. We can't do that. Oh, here we go. 073 879 4498. Fritz is going to put it up on the screen. That's 073 879 4498. Yeah, there we go. That is the WhatsApp group. You can join that WhatsApp group. And if you want to, then I can join you onto our Formula One group as well. Where, of course, we just keep everything Formula One. So listen, I hope to see you this coming Sunday. Otherwise, enjoy the Formula One Grand Prix. I'll also have some of my Let's Go Racing caps up for sale as well. So come and join us at the Baron. It is always great fun. There's great banter amongst everybody. And I think the tension between Mercedes-Benz and Red Bull is something to behold. And let's hope it continues for the rest of the season, as well as throwing in the likes of McLaren, Ferrari, Alpine, and everybody else. We want some different winners as well. As always, listen, thank you so much for tuning in, and please share this. I know a lot of people are struggling with load shedding in South Africa, so try and share it along, and then people can watch it a little bit later as well. From Henk and of course Fritz, who are my production team and putting everything together, thank you guys as always for putting together a fantastic show. I will catch you on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Follow me, ask questions, go for it, and enjoy the Grand Prix. Let's go racing.
This is the F1 PitBox with Sasha Martinengo.